Welcome to the Sweat Simple podcast. I'm Brooks, and I'm an online fitness, nutrition, and mindset coach. My name is Brooks Hermes. I'm an online fitness, nutrition, and mindset coach who's here to help you learn how to eat and exercise for real life, not just those perfect moments. Because let's be real, there is a lot of conflicting information online, and it can be hard to know what's legit and who to trust. In every episode, I'll be sharing the science and psychology behind health, fitness, and long-lasting behavior change, but I'll also be sharing practical real-life application because all of the best info in the world only matters if you can apply it to your real life. So grab a coffee, water, glass of wine, or lace up your walking shoes, and let's dive in. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Sweat Simple podcast. Today, I am super excited because this is one of the first episodes I've ever recorded about pregnancy and pregnancy habits. And spoiler alert, even if you're not pregnant, these are absolutely things that are going to be beneficial for you. Because honestly, my habits haven't really changed from pre-pregnancy. And I talk about this outside of like a few things that are very pregnancy specific in terms of like safety. But I talk about this all the time, that when we think about building a sustainable lifestyle, our habits should really be the same. I remember that I recorded an episode about what I was doing to prep for my wedding, and the things that I was talking about were the things that I had been doing for years prior to getting married. And now here I am, pregnant, and the things that I'm about to share are the same things that I was sharing when I was talking about wedding prep. And I know in, 20 years, when I am in a different phase of my health and fitness journey, I am still going to be talking about these habits because the reason behind these habits might change. The reason why we're doing these things might change, but the habits themselves stay the same. So regardless of, what area of your fitness or what phase of your fitness journey or life journey you're on, these habits are probably always going to be your foundation. Whether you are actively in a fat loss phase, whether you are actively trying to maintain your weight, whether you are actively trying to conceive, whether you are pregnant, whether you are postpartum, whether you are in menopause, these core foundational habits are going to stay the same because these are the basics and the basics work. Again, the reasons behind them might change. So when I was strength training, spoiler alert, strength training is going to be one of them. So when I was strength training, pre-pregnancy, I was strength training to improve my bone density because I wanted to build muscle, because I liked how I felt when I was training. It helped me feel strong, to, maintain my body composition to some degree, so that I could continue to move and age gracefully. That is why I was strength training. Now, my main benefit for strength training, or my main reason for strength training, is a little bit different. It's so I can have a smoother delivery. It's so that I can have an easier postpartum recovery phase. It's so that I can be the healthiest version of me for my baby. It's so I can have some of that mental relief that I get from strength training. So the habits themselves are always going to stay the same. The basics are the basics for a reason, but why we do them might change. And I am sharing these habits and I'm sharing this because it is really amazing to not have to reinvent the wheel every time your goals change or you're entering a new phase of life. And a lot of times I talk with my clients because most women, when they come to work with me, they have been deep in, not necessarily like diet culture, I would say, but almost deep in like macro culture. So there's a lot of this idea of, I have a fat loss phase and I have a maintenance phase. And the things that I'm doing when I try to lose fat look like this. And the things that I will eventually do when I need to maintain my weight look like this. And that's really not the way that we want to look at habits and look at creating a lifestyle. If we are always starting from scratch and we're always reinventing the wheel every time we have a new goal or every time we lean into a new phase of life, that's when all of this starts to feel really difficult. Because like for the same reason, if we have these things that we do when we're losing fat, but eventually you do want to have kids or, eventually we go into menopause, what then happens to some of those habits if there's no reason you're doing them outside of losing fat, and fat loss is no longer the goal. Like, for example, if you are, deep in tracking calories and you eat in a certain way because it changes your body composition, and then you get pregnant, and I hear this a lot, that you're like, well, okay, now I'm not trying to lose fat, so I'm just going to like eat whatever I want. You don't have the skills in place that allow you to, maintain a healthy pregnancy weight or maintain healthy eating habits in general, because you're really looking at these things as different phases of life. And you're looking at these things as each different phase has different habits and different things that I do in these phases. And that's really not what we want. With my one-on-one coaching clients and on this podcast, I want to help you guys create a life that is going to work regardless of the phase of life and the fitness phase that you are in. So if you are losing fat, we're focusing on some degree of this. When we are maintaining our weight, we're focusing on some degree of these. When we are pregnant, when we are postpartum, when we are in perimenopause, when we are in menopause, we are always focusing on these things. And I will say, these things might not all apply all of the time. And the reason they might not apply all of the time is just because of our current life demand, and where we are in our fitness journey. If you are someone who is brand new to a lot of this, you're having a hard time staying consistent with, a lot of habits, maybe we're doing one of these things. On the flip side, if you're someone who's been doing this for years, like I have, keeping up with all of these things might feel more manageable. So maybe we are doing all of these things. So keep that in mind, that if I'm saying something and you're like, wow, this sounds like a lot, Brooks, I don't know if I can keep up with all of this, don't worry about it. We'll get there. We don't have to be there just yet. But I wanted to share what I'm doing in pregnancy specifically, again, to show you guys, like, these are things that we can be doing all the time. And if we can lay a really strong foundation in our current life phase, then every other future life phase is going to feel easier to maintain these habits with. And at the time of recording this, I'm recording this early March. I am actually just hit 25 weeks today. So I am in the stage of pregnancy where a lot of these things are still feeling very doable. I know that as I get deep into the third trimester, some of these things might change, but very similar to how during first trimester, when my energy was changing quite a bit, I maybe had some food aversions. I was just adjusting these things. I was modifying these things to some degree. That's what I'll be doing in the third trimester. And that is another really good life lesson, because even if we are not pregnant, we are going to have periods of time where we are extra busy, where we are extra stressed, where we have other priorities, and maybe we're not doing all of these habits to our normal degree. Maybe these habits have to look a little bit differently. Maybe they're even looking differently for months or years at a time, but we're still prioritizing them in some capacity. And that is the difference, is we are always just focusing on these things, not trying to be perfect with them. So the things that I am currently focusing on that have been the most helpful for health and fitness while I've been pregnant is, we'll just jump right into them. Number one is strength training 3 times a week. And I have been focusing on functional movement patterns. So functional movement patterns are basically mimicking the movement patterns that we go about in day-to-day life. So when we think about this, if we are putting a suitcase into the overhead bin storage on an airplane, that is an overhead press. So we might make sure that our fitness program includes a shoulder press. When we are bending over to pick something up and lift it off the ground, that is considered a hinge movement. So in our strength training programs, we want to make sure that we have some sort of deadlift or hip thrust variation, which is a lower body hinge movement, to mimic that movement pattern. So my strength training programs that I build out for my clients, they're all built around this functional strength training. And they're all built around these movement patterns so that we are replicating what we're doing in real life and we're getting strong for these moments. So in pregnancy, currently, I'm strength training 3 times a week. Now that I'm in my second trimester, I do have to have some modifications in terms of, like, there's a couple core exercises that aren't feeling really comfortable. I can still lay on my back. That's not an issue, but things like barbell hip thrusts, that's kind of off the table right now. So I am still strength training. I'm the very same type of training that I was doing pre-pregnancy. I'm just making those slight modifications. Pre-pregnancy too, I also was strength training 4 times a week. now I really want to make sure that I am also getting in some prenatal yoga, taking time for more mobility work. So with my energy levels, and just how my body's feeling in general, that 3 times a week has really been feeling like a sweet spot. So keep this in mind. After all of these, I'm going to ask you to take a second. I'm going to ask you to take a beat and think about, how does this habit apply to my life? What does this look like for me? Is this something that I can do, have the capacity for? And if I do, what does it look like? This is what it looks like for Brooks right now. What could this look like for me in my phase of life? All right, second one. I am prioritizing sleep. This is huge because I'm starting to get to the point where I have some nights where I sleep really well. I'm getting really good quality sleep. I'm getting a lot of sleep. I'm basically dead to the world because I'm so tired. And then I'll go through like a couple day stretches where I sleep terribly and I'm up at 3 a.m. and I'm not getting good quality sleep and I just wake up low energy. So when I can, I'm prioritizing that really good quality sleep, which means that I'm going to bed really early. So same thing, maybe you're in a period of life where you can't necessarily prioritize sleep. Maybe you have young kids, but what are the moments that you can? What does this look like? Because I know for sure the days that I am able to get really good sleep, I feel so much better. So just really taking advantage of that. So again, ask yourself, how does this apply to my life? What does prioritizing sleep look like for me? For me, because I'm pregnant and exhausted, I'm averaging like a really good night, as if I can get it. I want 8.5 hours. Pre-pregnancy, I was getting like 8 on average. I know that that's not realistic for everyone. So what does this look like for you? What does prioritizing sleep look like for you? Is it a certain amount of sleep? Is it getting to bed at a certain time? What does prioritizing sleep look like for you? The third one that I'm focusing on is building balanced plates. This is specifically important during the first trimester to help with some of that nausea, even though I know it can be so hard to get protein in. If we're building balanced plates, it's going to help regulate our blood sugar, which can help with overall pregnancy nausea. So, as much as we can, making sure that we are building balanced plates, I swear, building balanced plates and focusing on that actually really helped me not have a ton of nausea. It's been giving me a lot of energy, and I've just been feeling really good in general. So this is going to apply in all of our life phases. When we are eating protein, when we are eating carbs, when we're eating fats, when we're eating veggies, we're going to feel better. We're going to feel more full and satisfied. We're going to have more energy, and it's really going to impact our overall quality of life. So ask yourself, how can I build balanced plates? What does this look like for me? I personally have been doing this for a long time, so it's very second nature for me to build these balanced plates. It was easy for me to do this even when I became pregnant. If this is new for you, maybe it looks like, okay, at lunch, I'm building a balanced plate. At lunch and dinner, I'm building a balanced plate. Just how can we get in the habit of doing this more frequently? Now, the next one is mobility work and pelvic floor work. And I bet some of you are like, this pelvic floor work doesn't apply for me because I'm not pregnant. Not true. We want to make sure that we are still doing mobility work. And we also, many of us could benefit from pelvic floor work, even if we're not pregnant or early postpartum. As women, our pelvic floor does just go through a lot of demand. It is extra when we are pregnant. So that is why pelvic floor work and going to like a pelvic floor PT is so helpful postpartum, because you just went through a lot, not just during labor, but like truly for the last 9 months. I personally am going during pregnancy for push prep. That's really helpful for me. But if you are postpartum, if you are having, pain, and sometimes remember too, pain that we're feeling elsewhere in our body, like our low back, our low hips, sometimes that is tied to our pelvic floor. And as women, we could just do a better job of incorporating our breath work into our exercises and making sure that we are engaging and relaxing our pelvic floor as we're moving through these exercises. So this is something that we can be doing. If that feels like too much to focus on right now, the least we should be doing is some mobility work. Truly, I have never done more mobility work than when I've been pregnant, because I just get achy sitting and standing for long periods of time. So that mobility work is really helpful. But the same is going to be true for you, especially as we get older. We are not meant to sit for long periods of time. And getting up and walking is amazing, but also doing this mobility work. So making sure that we are, doing some sort of warm up that before a workout that primes our joints to lift heavy loads, doing some mobility work if we notice that we do start to get achy throughout the workday. So really just incorporating this mobility work is going to help with, eliminating some of these aches and pains that we're experiencing, allow us to lift safer, and just feel better in our bodies overall. So if we're getting to a point where we are feeling so much pain in our muscles and our joints, we didn't do a good enough job of incorporating mobility work, and we need to do a better job of incorporating that regularly so that we can stay feeling really, really good. All right, now this is the last one. This is the most important one, was I have motivations outside of fat loss and I have a strong foundation for these behaviors. So like we talked about at the beginning, if I only ever did these healthy habits because I was trying to lose weight, I would let a lot of them go during pregnancy. And also, if I only knew how to do something like track calories, I would have a really hard time not giving in to every single pregnancy craving, not ordering out every single time I felt like it. And it's not like those are bad things, but I do think we tend to fall into these patterns whenever we enter a phase of life where we feel like fat loss can't be the priority, and we just tend to let everything go. Because we just say, if I can't get the scale to move, what's the point in really putting in effort towards these things? When instead, if we have motivations outside of fat loss and we really focus on behavior change, not just learning how to lose weight, every single phase of life starts to feel easier, whether we are focusing on fat loss or not. So some examples, in first trimester, I did have some cravings. There was like a week that I really wanted Chick-fil-A, and I only ended up having it once because I had a lot of practice pre-pregnancy experiencing cravings and not giving in to them. I know that I can have a craving. I know that a food can sound really good and I don't have to indulge it. That's what I'm helping my one-on-one coaching clients do, is understand like, hey, these things can pop up and we don't have to necessarily indulge every single craving in order to, have a healthy relationship with food. Another example is there were a lot of times in first trimester where I didn't feel like cooking and I did it anyways because pre-pregnancy, I had a lot of practice doing that. There are a lot of times where I don't feel like cooking, but I do it anyways because I have the habit of getting in the reps and showing up and putting in that work even when I don't feel like it. I have had a lot of practice being tired and still showing up and moving my body in some capacity. So truly, pregnancy is just one long behavior change lesson and one long lesson in cognitive flexibility. And that is why, whether you're pregnant, whether you are not pregnant, the one health and fitness behavior that is going to be so helpful is learning how to keep showing up, even when we can't do these things perfectly, and even when we need to adjust plans. So I want you to ask yourself, whether you are pregnant or not, how do these things fit into your real life? Do you understand and have these long-term eating skills that you can apply, even if fat loss wasn't the goal? Do you know how to leave food on your plate? Do you know how to listen to your hunger and fullness cues? Do you know how to not give in to every single craving? Do you know how to still make the dinner even when you don't feel like it? If you don't know how to do those things, we are probably going to continue to struggle to be consistent every single time that fat loss is not the goal. Whether it's a really busy season of work, whether it's pregnancy, whether it's a much more difficult season, anytime that fat loss is not on the table, it's going to feel really hard if we don't have this foundation. So ask yourself, where can I start to build some cognitive flexibility, and how can I start to build up these deeper behaviors that go more than just fat loss? And if you're not sure how, that is exactly what we do together in one-on-one coaching, so you can apply in the show notes. So just to wrap it up, the habits that I have been focusing on that have been most helpful during pregnancy: strength training, prioritizing sleep, building balance plates, mobility and pelvic floor work, and having motivations outside of fat loss. Again, these are the same things that I was talking about before I got married. These are the same things I was doing for years before that. These are the same things I'm going to be coming on a podcast and talking to you guys about in 20 years. If we can solidify these things and learn how to show up and do these things even when we can't be perfect, we are going to see so much more success and just feel so much better in our bodies. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to shoot me a DM. Don't forget, if you leave a review or share this episode on your stories, I pick one person to win a personalized fat loss blueprint every single month. So make sure to take advantage of that. If you guys have questions, shoot me a DM and I will talk to you soon.